All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss and Locked On Aggies podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. Do us a favor, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell for notifications, and of course, participate in the conversation by commenting below and upvoting the video as well. I'm here with Joey Ickes. We are talking Ole Miss and Texas A&M. We had a little gasoline thrown on the fire yesterday when Lane Kiffin decided to be Lane Kiffin, which, once or twice a year that happens. But it's an interesting situation. Now, I tell people all the time, I'm a homer. I can look at it objectively and I have problems, but I'm a homer. So I look at this game and I think Ole Miss is going to win this game. I think Ole Miss is going to win this game because I think their run offense can take advantage of A&M's run defense. And I think they will put enough of a Band-Aid on to where Devin Achane, he has to come out of the game eventually. Ole Miss has two or three guys they can put back there. Achane is only one guy. And just those numbers is the reason I think I'm leaning Ole Miss in this game. What about you?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you in that, and this has just become my core belief about this A&M team over the course of the season. I just don't think they can score enough to compete with good teams. And so it's just one of those things that until – and there's a little quarterback situation going on where Haynes King got hurt in the second half against South Carolina, and Conor Wogan, who everybody has wanted to see for a few weeks now, got out there. And you talked about Haynes King's throwing motion and the way the ball looks coming out of his hand. And it was just stark how different it looked, especially because it literally happened within a series, and Haynes King rolls out and throws the ball and hurts his shoulder. And, nobody wants to see a guy get hurt. And then Conor Wogan comes into the game, and it's a 2nd down and 10, so they got to throw the ball twice. And he comes out and throws 2 strikes immediately, bam, bam, and 2 back-to-back plays. Guy gets tackled short of the sticks on 3rd down, so they don't convert. But it was stark how different it looked. And so, but unless Conor Wogan comes in and winds up starting this game, and they show a bunch of different things on offense, I just don't think A&M can score. And I think, like you mentioned, Lane threw some gasoline on the fire, and we know Lane has the ability to dial some things up whenever he wants to put on a show, and he's not the kind of guy who's going to take his foot off the gas pedal whenever he wants to score a bunch of points on somebody and send a message either. So I just have a feeling A&M won't be able to score with Ole Miss, and that Ole Miss will wind up winning. Sure.
Part of it makes me think if Lane Kiffin did what he did on Wednesday, he's supremely confident. He's seen something on film.
Yeah.
To where he feels like it's going to be okay. Now, it could absolutely backfire. It's a football game. Anybody can win the game. Nobody is going to go 100% on the predictions. If I could, I would be Biff Tannen.
There you go.
Yeah. But Conor Wogan, right before we get to our predictions, Conor Wogan, he's a good little quarterback, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And it's one of those, like we mentioned earlier, Jimbo asked his quarterbacks to sort of play on hard mode. But he's been talking since camp about how good Conor has looked and how much they trusted Conor if they needed to play him. That they were trying to play the veterans because they're trying to win a lot of games this year. But they were trying to play the guys who'd been around because of the fact that the system is what it is. But they trust him, and they came out and they made a comeback on South Carolina with Conor Wogan as the quarterback, and got to another point where they had plays to throw the ball in the end zone to try to score a touchdown. To win the game. Weren't able to execute, but that's a Hail Mary. That's the kind of stuff that happens. But yes, I think they have a lot of confidence in Conor Wogan, and he I think it's merited and it's granted to the confidence that they have in him. And I think that you got to have some sort of life in this offense to save this season and to save recruiting going forward. They have 0 offensive skill players or quarterbacks in their recruiting class for 2024. No running backs, no tight ends, no wide receivers, and no quarterbacks, because nobody wants to sign up to play in an offense that looks like this one looks. So they're trying to save a lot more than just a Liberty Bowl berth right now with their offense. So that's a big story for sure going into the game.
So thinking about how close is Jimbo to just playing the kids?
He's been playing the kids throughout the whole season. Like the freshmen have played a ton. Cam Dewberry, one of the offensive linemen, got his first real action against Alabama and then started against South Carolina. They played 9 true freshmen on defense in the first week of the year, and they played a ton of them throughout the year. They played a bunch of the young kids. I think that's part of why things have been so inconsistent, is these guys trying to sort of find their footing. But I don't think he's far from putting Conor Wogan in there and saying, okay, we gotta put some stuff on tape for this year, and then hope we can roll into next year with an answer at quarterback instead of questions at quarterback like you've had for a couple of years.
Yeah, and it's a situation on the other side of the field. If Ole Miss successfully runs the ball, which they have against several teams, they put up decent numbers. Let's say if they get up north of 260 yards in a game, A&M has no shot in this game.
Yep,
they will
absolutely.
keep it going. Even best case scenario for A&M would look like the Ole Miss Auburn game.
Right.
So they're going to have to stack the box to try and take away the run. They're going to have to do that. DJ Durkin, we talked about what he does and how he does it and being really careful about the pass. Well, this is a game where he's probably not going to be careful about the pass. He's not going to be able to do that, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. And even if they start in light boxes, these guys, the safeties that they have and the slot players that they have, they're going to have to be supremely keyed in on coming downhill for the run, which, then makes them susceptible to play action and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see what Durkin does in his first matchup with his old boss and how they sort of handle that dynamic, considering, how productive Ole Miss has been against the run or as a running team. And then what they know that their offense isn't going to just put up huge plays and score a bunch of points, even if they only have, 25 minutes of time of possession. So they're going to feel like they can't just let Ole Miss hold on to the ball and move down the field and kind of control the game like that. They're going to feel like they have to put pressure on them and really try to generate some big plays, which they've been pretty good at this year, and it's sort of saved the team's bacon a few times for sure.
Yeah, it's a good team. A&M is probably the second most talented team of players that Ole Miss is going to play. This season just hadn't really worked out for him.
Absolutely.
Joey, what is your score prediction for the game?
I don't know. That's a great question. I think it probably winds up being somewhere in the neighborhood of Ole Miss 31, A&M 24 or something like that, which 24 would be up there with A&M's highest scoring production of the season, which is telling. But I think it winds up being about a touchdown win for Ole Miss. It'll be close because it's at Kyle Field in College Station. But I think the Ole Miss offense will wind up being too much for the A&M offense to keep up with. And I think Ole Miss probably wins 31-24.
Yeah, I think that Zach Evans hopefully will be back for this game. He's a Houston kid. He's going to want to play in this game against A&M because they're right down the road. I think he's going to perform pretty well. He does really well on the outside zones, kind of like Devon Achane does as well. I think I'm looking at a 27-20 or a 34-27 type game as well. So we're kind of right there.
That feels about right. Absolutely.
All right. Joey Ickes joined us today. Thank you very much for doing that. This crossover is going to go up. Give Joey a subscribe if you're watching on the Ole Miss page, and if you're not an M fan, come over and see me as well. Absolutely. I'm a super homer, but I'm a fairly nice guy.
There you go.
But anyway, for Joey, I'm Steve. We'll see you next time.